Welcome to Back to the Texts Themselves, a series on phenomenology. Today we'll examine Part 2, Section 6 of the Introduction to Being and Time. In this video, I'll address the following questions. 1. Why is an awareness of Dasein's historicity necessary to inquire into the meaning of being? 2. What is the destruction of tradition? And 3, how has presence served as the major impediment to understanding temporality? If you learned something from this video and want to support this work, please consider liking it, sharing it, and subscribing to my channel. Question 1. Why is an awareness of Dasein's historicity necessary to inquire into the meaning of being? In this section, Heidegger argues that the question of being must be considered in light of the history of that questioning. And in interpreting and understanding that history, one arrives at and can then assume a set of future possibilities. To understand this claim, we must reconsider Dasein. Heidegger says of Dasein that it is as and what it already was. This expression means that Dasein is determined by its historicity, as and what it already was. As such, this historicity generates Dasein and serves as the ground of its being. Now, what does this historicity mean? It's prior to what we ordinarily call history, just as temporality precedes the ordinary understanding of time. It is Dasein's past. However, this past is not a series of inert facts we presently possess, like a biography. Instead, this is a past oriented toward the future, and that actively delivers to Dasein its particular possibilities. What does this mean? How can a past be oriented toward the future? In the film Good Will Hunting, the protagonist, Will, can't assume his possibilities, such as taking a job available to him in light of his gift for mathematics, and he sabotages his relationship with a girl, Skylar, avoiding what he anticipates will be an inevitable failure. We find that his decisions emerge from the abuse he experienced as a child, experiences that come to define him and his possibilities. His understanding of his past determines what is possible for him in the future, which is severely limiting in Will's case. The past is my destiny, but the past is not set in stone. It depends on my understanding of it. We do have to be careful here. It's natural to think that Heidegger is talking about ontic beings. He's not principally addressing our historical particularities and the regional traditions that come out of it. Though this analysis may have implications on that level, what we are principally dealing with here is philosophical in nature. Dasein is us, but us only in the manner in which we inquire into the meaning of being. Dasein questions. That's its fundamental function. Whereas we, in our humanity, are more than a being that questions. Dasein's historicity is not our personal past. Rather, it is the history of philosophical ideas that have emerged from the past, shaping the possibilities available to Dasein in its function as the one who questions. As such, we can have different interpretations of the past. Some interpretations reveal more of the being of Dasein. Other interpretations conceal it. A deficient mode of Dasein's being in the world is when it lacks any understanding of its historicity altogether. This lack of understanding is a principal reason for the covering over of Dasein's temporality. While historicity is the ground of Dasein's being, temporality is the horizon for understanding the meaning of being. As such, it is the condition of possibility for historicity itself. When temporality is concealed, then an inquiry into Dasein's historicity will also be blocked off. Question 2. What is the destruction of tradition? This concealment happens because Dasein is entangled in particular traditions that guide its interpretations. Traditions, in Heidegger's understanding, tend to freeze thought into a fixed body of doctrines that covers over any ontological understanding. They impede a productive appropriation of the past and deprive Dasein of possibilities that assist its inquiry into the meaning of being. Heidegger has a particular philosophical tradition in mind that he believes is a significant impediment to inquiring into the meaning of being. This tradition, which encompasses much of Western philosophy, fails to consider time as the horizon for understanding being. It also fails to consider the ontological difference between being in general and the things in the world, the beings. And this is what concerns Heidegger and what he sets out to address. The second central claim of this section is that only the destruction of this tradition can adequately open the question of being in its concreteness. The translation I'm working from uses the word destructuring. In contrast, the original translation used the word destruction, which is closer to the German, but the new translation perhaps better captures what the concept actually means. Rather than merely destroying, it's more of an overcoming the concealments wrought by this philosophical tradition. Destructuring is a very particular manner of interpreting the past. Rather than presenting and explaining past philosophical ideas as would happen, say, in a philosophy course, this examination of history seeks to reinterpret these ideas in light of present questions. So it is a sort of violent reading of past philosophers, but with a purpose. Heidegger is seeking to identify impediments to thinking being in these philosophers' thoughts. This reading is not purely negative, however. It seeks to make past thinkers relevant to present-day concerns. More specifically, it considers where and how the phenomenon of time arises in a particular philosopher, along with how their thought also conceals it. Question 3. How has presence been the major impediment to understanding temporality? So we've been talking about a tradition that has blocked off our understanding of being. What is that tradition? The principal barrier to thinking about the problem of temporality in this tradition is reducing time to presence. Such a notion goes back to those Greek philosophers who interpreted being as what is eternal and unchanging. Parmenides is attributed with the statement that whatever is, and what is not, cannot be. In other words, there is no change because that would entail a kind of negation of what is. Being is thus always a permanent presence. Now, Heidegger employs the Greek word ousia to encapsulate the notion of being in presence. This word has often been translated as either essence or substance and has had a significant role to play in philosophical thought. Though its origin is found in Greek philosophy, the concept of presence takes on a distinct expression in the transition from medieval thought to early modernism, giving rise to the cogito sum, the one who, in thinking, is made present. Rather than locating presence externally in some kind of eternal forms, which was already quite problematic, now presence is determined by thinking itself. Consequently, the meaning of being is reduced to the sum, the I am, of the cogito sum, meaning that being is reduced to the immediacy of the ego, who, when it thinks, always thinks in the here and now, and in thinking establishes its own existence, and consequently the existence of other beings as well. The concern about presence may, for many, lack a degree of tangibility at first. Why is presence a problem? It impedes an understanding of temporality, but so what? Here is what is at stake in my eyes. By grounding being in presence, and thus grounding truth in it, the seeds are planted for the rise of nihilism. If you found truth in the idea of perfect presence on a supposed indubitable foundation, and then come to discover that foundation not to be so firm, well, everything that it's founded upon is ultimately going to collapse. Nietzsche is, in fact, before Heidegger, was the one who saw this impending nihilism in the death of God. For if God is dead, then the basis of all truth that it's founded upon collapses, and we're left with nothing. The modern subject has replaced, philosophically speaking, the role the concept of God has previously occupied. This subject can bring itself into being by thinking itself, and thus also brings beings into perfect presence. Yet it must neglect temporality. The absences that are part of the past and future must be eradicated for perfect presence to be made. Indeed, perhaps the ever-increasing technological capacity to bring what was distant into immediate presence by the touch of a button is a practical unfolding of this philosophical idea. The I think, therefore I am, perhaps leads to the I click, therefore it is. The convenience that all this affords comes at a price as technology increasingly mediates our experience of the world. This is nihilism understood as the progressive annihilation of the human in favor of the machine which knows no time. We'll revisit these ideas as we proceed through the text. And on that happy note, we'll end today's video. In the following video, we'll continue examining Part 2, Section 7 of the Introduction to Being and Time. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be well.